Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I thought my night was over in regards to the NBA, but I should have known better because the NBA always gives you something in the wee hours of the morning or late at night or some random time when it comes down to free agency day. And that's exactly what this is. So, yeah, the NBA has really changed things with the new collective bargaining agreement, and we're seeing some unprecedented numbers uh, go to some guys in 5 year deals. Tyrese Halliburton read up with the Indiana Pacers 5 years, 260, and Desmond Bain 5 years, I think it was 208, if I'm not mistaken. That is incredible. Congratulations to those guys, first of all, first and foremost. That is incredible. But more than anything, you just have to wonder what that means for the contracts themselves, because in the past they used to give out 7 year contracts and teams really hated how those panned out. So extending contracts that many years, it's risky. It's risky for all parties involved, but ultimately, it's pretty awesome to see those type of numbers being divvied out. That's what I will say. It is awesome seeing that, and you can see where the possibility for that number to even go higher it is there. You know, as the game continues to spread and awareness of the game continues to increase, revenue will pour in, and so that's how it works. And the NBA is going strong, ladies and gentlemen. It is going strong. So that's what we're seeing there. Guys are getting paid now. You know, there's an entirely different reaction in regards to whether or not guys deserve that, and that's a whole nother story in regards to the specifics of these players and what their contracts are about for these teams. But just in general, that's where my mind went first. Like, wow, that is really awesome to see those type of numbers going to guys. Um, so yeah, that's what I wanted to say first. Now, as far as Halliburton, if there's a max contract to give somebody, he's definitely a player that I would trust. He's that brilliant of a basketball mind and has that much of a fantastic touch with his unique shot from behind the arc. He just flows with the game, and it's fairly durable and is only getting better. So I think he's one of the young stars in the league, and I think the Pacers are trying to establish a foundation of two-way players that are really going to compete. And I think over the next several years, we're going to understand what it is they're trying to put together. Um, and it looks pretty good. I think they could use a tank year where they win the draft or something like that, win the lottery rather. I think that's what they're missing. It's just some real fantastic luck there, but we'll see what happens with Jarris Walker and some of the other guys that they drafted, which I think are very, really solid prospects, very, very good prospects. So we'll see. I didn't really love the Bruce Brown signing, um, but I understand that you have to take into account Miles Turner as well, who they're going to keep, it seems, on that same timeline. It looks like they're going to try to make the playoffs. I just don't think they're good enough to quite do that. But that depends on some of these unknowns stepping up and showing us who they are. You know, a guy like Mathurin could change that entirely. Um, so we'll see. They're definitely going to play some defense. Um, the opportunity got for guys to play a little more. I'm thinking about Smith on the bench. I'm assuming he's still with the team. I know Brissett went to the Celtics today, so I'm just trying to imagine their team and what it is they're going to be bringing to the table. I still think there are more moves for that team to make. Buddy Yield, I can imagine, probably will be moved on from. And these are the type of things I'm just wondering in regards to the Pacers, how their roster is ultimately going to shake out this year with Bruce Brown now in town. So yeah, that's an interesting team, very interesting. But Desmond Bain, that situation there. I know he's a better player than people have seen him play. As I know that, and if he ever has a healthy season, he can show people exactly how talented he is. I don't know if I max him out if I'm in the Memphis Grizzlies specific situation. I don't know that I do that. And the reason why is because we've drafted so well and we've had such good scout development that you have to be very certain that the person you pay and you put on a contract like that is somebody you want to keep just in case somebody else around them pops and you find out you don't have the money to keep them. Because that's the only thing you got to worry about in situations like this. You don't want to tack on players to such massive contracts till you back yourself into massive holes. You know what I mean? And that, I understand the math is we have our core and we want to lock them up for this amount of time. But if you understand the fluidity of basketball, then you understand that they may not be the same fit every year. That doesn't quite equate. And so you want the flexibility to be able to make yourself to, whoever it is you want to be in a given year. And if you lock these guys up to these type of contracts and are unable to move them, which does happen from time to time, then you find yourself in a stranglehold. And that stranglehold can often leave teams without enough. And so these are things that we talk about ad nauseum. And I just think contracts like this kind of, depending on how healthy the player can stay, may make for you being in a bit of a hole long term. So that's my situation. I'm not mad at them wanting to lock up Desmond Bane, and I'm not mad at his side, so to speak, driving a hard bargain. Because the Memphis Grizzlies, to be honest with you, they don't really have a whole lot of leverage as it pertains to these free agents because of the fact that Ja Morant situation took place. Because essentially these guys are saying, the first half of this particular season, we're going to be out. We know we're missing our best guy, and we know it doesn't have anything to do with blah, 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 yakety smackety, injuries or what have you, It's other things that's keeping him from the court and things that you should have done in order to keep this from being in this position. So therefore, this is my leverage. And saying if you want me to be with your team as opposed to another team that doesn't have this problem, I can drive a hard bargain. Now, I'm not saying I know that's what Desmond Bane's side did. I don't know that. But I'm telling you that's what's there to do. that's the leverage in place that's available to them. Just without even it having to be said. It's just understood. This is not the greatest team to play for at this moment. Other teams will be available to take his services. Maybe they value him at the same rate or more, given the money that's being tossed around for the value of player that he is. Now, that's the argument. He means that much to Memphis. You ask the field? No, I don't believe so. And that's what is a determining factor for me personally signing off on a person is if I go to trade them, am I going to be laughed out of the room? If they're healthy, all things considered. Because sometimes players are just not healthy. They wear down over the course of the time that you have them, and it just changes their value. But on paper right now, fully healthy when he signs it. Can I turn around and trade this guy 6 months from now at the same price? And if the answer is no, then I got to assess if it makes sense at all for me on the court to risk that. You know what I mean? Because that's a really serious thing to risk when you consider trying to, keep your team flexible and build your team and fix things that may be a problem or what have you. The ability to fix those things may determine how much flexibility you have. So I just don't know if you allow yourself enough flexibility with a contract like that on your books. Not with Ja Morant already on tab, Jaren Jackson on tab. He just played Kennard. If I'm not mistaken, Brandon Clark has been paid. So there's more to Memphis than even what I'm considering on top of that. And it's just one of those situations where you just wonder, are they sure they can win a championship with this team? And in being sure, are they certain of all the risks that they just put themselves in? With Bane specifically, his health. I mean, he hasn't been a healthy player. That's the problem. You haven't seen him on the floor long enough for him to really display what it is that we ultimately know he can be. Can he be that if these injuries keep on coming? And is your investment in him something that you're going to not regret in the event this doesn't necessarily go the right way? And so then it becomes a question of, do you have enough around him to keep him healthy? Does he have enough backups, guys like a Bruce Brown behind him that allow him to take a week or two off extra in an injury situation without the team falling off a cliff? And no is most definitely the answer, because Ja Morant isn't out for 25 games in this first particular season of that contract. And you still don't have Dylan Brooks signed at this particular moment before signing that contract. So it's a lot of things that Desmond Bane's side can bring to the table that can talk up this price in this particular market. When you see what Grant went for today, and you see what Max Strus went for today, you see what I'm saying? Once you see those contracts, it's like, yeah, that's what it is that we're going to be marketing ourselves against. If he got that, I got this. And you saw a lot of that. You saw the beginning of that with Kyrie Irving and Fred VanVleet. If he got that, I need this. Okay, cool. One up that guy. And so it became a situation where now the market was set and everything is super overpriced. So some of the guys that signed early, they left a lot of money on the board. They may not necessarily know it right now, but once they see what everybody else is going to get from here, it's like, oh, wow. Because the market is shifted. It's changed now. Now you're going to be weighing yourself against those prices. Not to say that everybody's going to be getting those prices, but that's going to be the increase in difference from what it is you thought you were going to get versus what it is that you now could be able to get. So I think a guy like D'Lo, price went up, basically. Price went up in theory. Because now he's looking at these price tags like, the hell? What I'm about to settle for? That's just what everybody's going to do. Even Fred VanVleet, if you look at what he got, it's like, damn. You know what I mean? When you start looking at what Desmond Bane got, it's like, man, did the market just inflate from here? I don't know, because they say that these guys have max contracts. These are considered maximum deals. A max extension as it pertains to, the Indiana Pacers, Halliburton. That's a 260 max extension. So it's like, all right, not necessarily. That just kicks him up to where he would be astronomically in this market, for which he's earned as a player that has met certain measures that would get him to that point. So you kind of just write that off. But with Desmond Bane, I'm not really sure. 206, I'm just not certain. If that's not just them hiking up his maximum to make sure that they lock up a player they appreciate. I don't know. So I just leave it to that. But he's going to have a huge role from here, man. I hope he can turn into the all-star, buff Reggie Miller. That's what I always call him. If he can really turn into that player, he's really serious. I know what type of talent he brings to the table. And the question you have to ask yourself in situations like these is, throughout the course of the 5 years, even though you think it may be a good contract now and it may continue to inflate to make it make sense, you can weigh the players that are coming in over the next several years, prototypes versus the players that you've just paid. And you have to wonder if it's still going to be as valuable to have that particular type of piece versus those type of players that are going to be coming in younger as that player ages and slows down. It's like suddenly you don't need that piece as much at that price because you got this guy that all do what he does. And so it's like, damn, that wasn't necessarily the case when I signed him to this. But now in year 3 of the 5-year contract, I got access to all these dudes, but I'm stuck to this guy on this contract. And so that's the type of thing that I think you can run into as well. When you sign certain guys, it's like, depending on the prototype, it's like, am I still going to need this as much later on? And you see that with centers. They signed them these big old contracts 4 years ago now. It's like, man, what kind of 1-year deal do I have for a guy that's barely going to be on the floor? That's how it happens. You don't take into account that the game changes and, what fits today may not fit tomorrow. The guy's in a certain role, he looks great. You put him on a certain team, not so much. So, that is pretty much what I have to say about that. I don't know if that will apply to these particular situations, but I just I have to adjust my mind to the inflation of the situation versus also the 5 years that are now attached. Most of the contracts we've seen are 4-year deals, 3-year deals. But there's a new CBA, and you'd have to attach on what a year's salary would be to a 5-year deal to kind of wrap your mind around what it is you're looking at there with those astronomical numbers. If you saw a 7-year deal, it would be higher, much higher dollar amounts to represent each year. So, in just first glance, you look at that dollar amount, think it's a 4-year deal. It's like, nah, it's 5, man. You know what I mean? So, that's also part of it. That is part of it for sure. But even so, these guys they're getting broke off, man. This ain't no joke here. And I think both of these players, if they play up to their capability, the teams really won't regret it. I honestly believe that. It's just about staying healthy for both of them, but particularly Desmond Bane, who has the history with the injuries. But Tyrese Halliburton, I think they're just going to create a new culture in Indy. That's really what it is, and he's going to be the centerpiece of it. And if he plays like himself, he's still a very young player. That's the thing. He's young. If he plays like he's been playing and doesn't change for any reason, he's going to be one of the best point guards in the league. There's no question about that. He's just got a unique dynamic that allows him to pretty much play with anyone. His game translates to both sides. So, I respect his game. I think he's going to be a player that, if for some reason, he gets traded, he's going to get a maximum return for his services. So it's not like you're going to look up and say, oh, that contract's crazy. Unless he gets injured or something like that, people will trade for that. If for some reason they need a point guard, and if for some reason Indy wants to make him available, that's not going to be a bad contract, I don't think. But I don't think Indy's going to make him available either. And I'm still wondering why Sacramento did. But it is what it is, man. This is what it would have cost to keep him anyway. So there you have it. And anyway, that's pretty much what I got to say, man. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.